This is just an awesome all-rounder for the money. Really well shaped, really well equipped, really upgradable, and as happy covering the miles on the open moors as it is playing in the steep, twisty and silly.
My name's Guy Kestevan. I've been a professional bike and kit tester for nearly 28 years, and this is Boardman's brand new MTR 8.9. So what are the pros and cons of this brand new bike, and who is it going to suit the best?
So, what are we talking about with the new MTR? 130mm travel, both ends, with a RockShox silo, gold RC fork up front, and a RockShox Select Plus damper at the rear, 29er wheels, Maxxis dissector at the front, and a Recon. Oh, I missed that cue. At the back. So, semi-aggressive but reasonably fast rolling, mid-travel, all-round trail bike is the basic picture, and it's got proper chainstay pivot, 4-bar suspension, but all new frame compared to the previous bike, which means all new geometry too. 65.5 degree head, 480mm reach on this large, and then 77.5 seat angle. So bang on those modern steep climbing, stable descending numbers. It's almost got to the point where geometry is so sorted on trail bikes now, it's almost not worth calling it out, but yeah, it's still worth giving the bikes. You'll want to know the numbers, won't you? It's kind of what makes the bike handle the way it does. But I guess the real number of interest is the fact that this bike is under 2k. So 1900 quid at the moment, to be precise. So that puts it right in this new generation of more affordable but really well sorted full suspension bikes. And I have to say, it's also showcasing some new tech in the shape of that silo fork. It's about my 4th ride on the bike now, including photo shoots for MBR. I've been consistently impressed with this silo. It is the same premium bushings as higher end RockShox forks. It's a 35mm chassis, so same as the Pike basically. And you even get the same Maxima plush dynamic suspension fluid, keeping it all lubed up and moving smoothly. But the real standout introduction is the new Isolator RC cartridge damper, which for a fork at this price, I mean, it's 580 quid aftermarket, so it's not exactly cheap, but it's very rare to have a more affordable fork with a separate internal floating piston setup to compensate for oil flow and really kind of keep the lid on how this setup performs and really add another level of consistent smoothness and control a lot deeper into rowdier sections than a simple plunger damper, which is what you'd normally get on a less expensive fork. And with a 30mm internal rim, up front on that Exo Carcass dissector tyre. Really is a properly plush front end feel. And it's consistent as well, which is the key thing. And well as that super sorted, flowing suspension, you've got a really nice frame feel on this bike too. Like I say, it's a fully neutral 4-bar FSR style setup, but relatively slim linkages and stays mean it's quite a fluid feeling frame as well. So it's a nice bit of compliance and chassis smoothness in it. Means it's not stiffest bike to accelerate, even with these fast rolling tyres on. But in terms of flowing over rough sections, keeping the traction sorted, and just generally looking after you on a long day, it's absolutely spot on. And in terms of kit, you're really well sorted for going the distance as well. Not only have you got those RockShox fork and damper, so pretty much everywhere will service RockShox long term, but you've also got full set of ultra dependable Shimano Dior, and it's 12 speed as well, so it's not like the 10 speed Q stuff you're getting on the Caliber Boss Nut and the Voodoo Camzo that I tested recently. This is full 1051 range, gearing, microspline hub, so fully upgradable if you fancy it, but to be honest, it's got such a nice feel as it is. No real imperative to upgrade. Only things that are probably worth thinking of moving up from to have a noticeable performance increase are the wheels, which, you know, they seem decent enough, but budget wheels are always a bit sturdy. And this silo fork is on the heavy side, so 2.3 kilos, that's 500 grams more than a Pike or a Fox 34. And as well as Shimano transmission, you're also getting Shimano M420 brakes. They're only 2 pots, but again, they're higher spec and cheaper bikes I've been testing recently. And actually, I kind of slagged them off at first, but if it's dry, the performance is really good, really consistent, reliable. No servo wave leverage, they have to give them a reasonable pull, and they do go off in the wet because they're resin pads and fairly soft rotor, but you can always put aftermarket pads in them, and in terms of reliability, they're absolutely excellent. And one real highlight for a bike under £2,000 is that you even get Shimano dropper lever, which is a really neat little piece. Really discreet under the bars, just where you want it. That's typical for Shimano. Really reliable actuation. Again, just a really nice sorted bit of spec. And the kind of detail you definitely only expect to find. The bike's a long way north of this in price. No performance, I have to say. Just really sorted, nothing extreme in any way. Just really together. Just a completely sorted trail bike. So there's your dropper there. I've obviously been running the shock cam, but you can see that's pretty much spot on in terms of travel. Deliberately sent it off a couple of lumps, and it's just stroked nicely through to the end of the travel, and then you've got that little rocker linkage there, and then that's your chainstay pivot down there, And just, you know, just classic cross-country design. I mean, I'll do a full tech talk round as well. The only bit that kind of niggles is that kind of stamped on flat tube there. I love the fact they've gone straight top tube compared to the previous humpback bike. I think the lines look a lot better on this. And also that asymmetric chainstay looks quite old school these days, but, you know, really tidy bike. Nice tidy internal cable routine. Anyway, look, you're not going to watch me tech talk round if I show you this. So, oh, and it's even got that two-tone paint that Canyon are quite into. Oh, that's reminding me of something else I'll say. I'll say that once we started riding again. Right, this section up here is proving a real test crux move at the moment. Real challenge for the crew. Little steep step up, but there you go. Boardman straight up, no drama. Helped in no small part by that really steep 77.5 degree seat angle, just putting me in that classic saddle in the sphincter climbing position without reaming myself. So as ever with testing, you always try and find out what the comfort zone is for a bike, and you know, with a recon rear, and it's still on tubes. It's not even tubeless at the moment. You know, obviously 130mm travel as well, and just 2-pot rather than 4-pot brakes. It is designed as more of a trail bike than an extreme belligerent rocky black run bike, but it wouldn't be Stainburn without having a go at some of the lumpy stuff, especially as it's been beautifully man and ladyscaped, and everyone in between, by the folks at Stainburn on the last volunteer day. So massive thanks to those guys for sorting out the black run bikini line for us. And I have to say, yeah, that silo, oh hello, I didn't even know that was a line. I must have forgotten that back in the dark histories of Stainburn past. But Boardman's up for it. It's quite interesting. Ryan was just saying, Ryan as usual, he was saying it actually looks quite a tall, short bike. But actually, the geometry isn't tall and short at all. Like I say, 480mm reach. And it's only a 437mm BB, so it's not slammed, but 33mm drop. It's certainly not perched, but there's something about the way the shock sits relatively high in the frame. It does look a bit perched compared to sort of super long and slack bikes these days, but there you go, down the old coal chute. That's pretty much all the classic Stainburn boulder run now ticked off without any trauma at all. He says catching a pedal and spinning out the very last section. Right, let's start a bit more climbing. Again, hopefully, this is where that, here, steep seat angle. Again, you're just nicely positioned. It does take, if you're used to an old school bike, that is going to take a bit of getting used to. Because it does kind of push you forwards on descents as well. So if you're used to hiding behind the saddle when you're descending, or just when you're riding normally, there's going to be something of a period of adjustment on this Boardman, but it's going to be the same on any modern geo trail bike. And there is a sense, I'm not sure why, because it's getting full travel and it's smooth enough. It just does seem to sit a little more on top of the trail. But then again, having said that, down there, no problem at all. I think it's just, you know, it's not as super plush as say that Voodoo Kanzo I rode recently. but it's definitely more in sort of, hey up, where am I going, guys? It's more tuned into the trail, more kind of locked in than the caliber boss nut. And also, the significant thing is, it's well over a kilo lighter than both of those bikes. So that's 500 quid more than the Voodoo, and it's 400 quid more than the boss nut, but kilo plus is a significant difference in terms of mass for moving uphill. And while that might seem heavy, you got to remember that that Canyon Spectral CF7 that Ryan's riding, okay, 36 fork and slightly chunkier tyres, but that's exactly the same weight as this, but with a full carbon frame. So basically you've got to remember that trail bikes in general have got a lot heavier. It's not that you're suffering unduly because this is alloy. It's still actually a good weight for the equipment you get in hand. Like I say, lighter set of wheels, lighter fork. I reckon you could pull a kilo out of this bike pretty easily, and that would be dramatically noticeable again. And things like the fact it's got UDH hanger, it's got UDH dropouts, so it's fully universal in terms of spares and repairs, really help long term as well. Oh, wasn't thinking then, but again, steep seat angle just nudges it round. You're just in the right position. When you stall out, you just apply a bit of pedal pressure and round it goes. It's the same with that head angle, because it's not too extreme. You can run the nice responsive 45mm stem, 780mm bar, and it all syncs together really well. The wheels just go where you want them without having to do any real relearning or specific characterization when you get on the bike. And I think the more I'm riding it, it does feel like it's a fairly firm, either there's a little bit of stiffness in the bearings. I don't think there is, it doesn't feel like that. I think it's just quite a firm shock tune at the back. Not as obviously firm as that caliber boss nut, but quite an efficient feel. It's fine once it gets moving, but just under really low speed compression, which is great for stabilising the pedalling. I think again, plus I'm running a bit more pressure than normal because it's, you know, tubes around Stainburn, which is always a bit of a risk compared to tubeless, but I just feel it's a little bit tappy. But again, kind of suits the ride character, to be honest. But then this section of Stainburn is always a good barometer of what traction's like and pedalling. And I've been to and fro with the rebound on this, because you have got rebound and you've got low speed compression as well on the rear shock. And then on this silo with that isolator damper, you've actually got pedal mode as well in the middle. I think they call it trail, but so you got open, closed lockout, and you got an intermediate setting. Let's be honest, Stainburn's more of a full open place, but for flowing trails, cross-country efficiency, then oh yes, nicely handled MTR. And again, obviously, 29er wheels, front and rear, helps with the rollover. So even when you hear that recon slip, it still keeps moving forwards and re-establishes the grip. For a bit of poetry in motion, literally.
So there we go, Boardman MTR 8.9 ride review done. And I know I say it a lot, but it really does bear repeating. These bikes are so important to mountain biking. The fact that you can get a sorted, affordable all-rounder now that's so well equipped, durably equipped as well. You're not going to need to run back and swap your parts straight away. You've got Dior on there, you've got rock shocks, you know, decent dropper post, decent tyres, but it's still got, you know, that UDH rear end for easy upgrading. It's just a great all-round package for under 2K. Yes, it hasn't got internal storage, it hasn't got a fancy proprietary suspension system, it's not carbon fibre, but as we've already pointed out, there are carbon fibre bikes that are a lot more expensive than this and weigh the same amount. And it's a really efficient mover as well. So, you know, despite the weight, it gets a move on. Certainly better than the sub 2K bikes that I've already tested this year. There's a couple more to come. Hopefully get the Voodoo Canzo Pro. But again, slightly more downhill orientated bike. And I'm going to try and get the Polygon as well, the T8, which is around a similar price and looks really good on paper. But right now, this is just, in terms of new bikes at full retail, this is a phenomenal all-rounder for a whole bunch of people. I mean, I can think of exactly the people this is going to suit. The kind of, you know, 7 while 11 crowd, whether that's a Sunday morning or weekday evening, you know, just getting out around family and work commitments. This is exactly the right bike for them. Or even, you know, someone thinking maybe it's time for an e-bike. This is fast and efficient enough to make you think, no, there's life in the old dog yet. So, I hope you've enjoyed this old dog. Talking to you about the Boardman while riding around the beautiful Stainburn Trail Centre. Like, subscribe, notifications if you really love me. Think of subscribing on Patreon and supporting the channel with a monthly donation. But massive thanks to Boardman for sending the bike in. Huge thanks to my industry partners for supporting the video. And I'll wrap it up there so you watch to the end. Because I've been Guy Kesteven on Guy Kes TV talking about the thoroughly excellent and pleasingly economical Boardman MTR 8.9.